Imagine you've just graded exams for 6 students in a small seminar, and you want to understand how students in general might perform in your class. With just 6 test scores in your hand, this seems like an impossible task, right? Well, this exact challenge is what data scientists face constantly, and there's this remarkably elegant technique called kernel density estimation that can help us estimate the population distribution using only a small sample size. Let me walk you through exactly how this works using our student exam example. Here we have our sample of 6 exam scores: 45 points, 52 points, 58 points, 78 points, 82 points, and 95 points. Just by examining these numbers, you can probably sense there are distinct performance groups here. Some struggling students around the 50-point range, some average performers around 80 points, and at least one high achiever at 95 points. But how do we transform this intuitive observation into a precise mathematical statement about the entire student population? The fundamental insight behind kernel density estimation is that each observed data point doesn't just tell us about that exact value. It provides information about the entire neighborhood surrounding that value. Think about it this way. If one student scored 78 points, that gives me confidence there might be other students who scored 77 or 79 points as well, and perhaps even some who scored 76 or 80 points, though my confidence decreases the further we move away from the observed score for points like 45 or 95. This is where the mathematical magic begins. We're going to place a bell-shaped probability curve, what statisticians call a kernel, at each of our observed data points, which are carefully constructed probability distributions that represent our confidence about finding students with scores near each observed value. So, at the first score, we center a bell curve there, then at the second score, we place another bell curve, and so on, for all the remaining scores. Now, here's where the method becomes truly powerful. Each of these individual bell curves represents what we call local evidence for finding students with various scores. The student who scored 78 provides strong evidence for finding other students around 78 points, moderate evidence for students scoring around 70 or 85 points, and very little evidence for students scoring 45 points. So, for any score we are curious about, let's say 65 points, we examine what each of our 6 bell curves predicts for that score, add up all those predictions, and divide by 6 to get the average. This average becomes our best estimate of how likely we are to encounter a student with that score in the entire university population. What emerges from this averaging process is something quite remarkable: a smooth continuous function that captures both the specific details of our sample and the broader patterns in the academic performance data. In our exam score example, the final curve reveals multiple peaks corresponding to different student performance levels, with valleys between them where we'd expect fewer students to score, creating a natural representation of the underlying performance distribution. But there's a crucial parameter that controls this entire process, and it's called the bandwidth. The bandwidth determines how wide or narrow each of those individual bell curves should be, and selecting this parameter correctly is absolutely essential for obtaining meaningful results. If we choose a bandwidth that's too small, we get what statisticians call an undersmooth estimate, where every minor fluctuation in our sample data gets preserved, creating a jagged, noisy curve with excessive peaks that likely don't represent true population patterns. Conversely, if we choose a bandwidth that's too large, we get an oversmooth estimate that's so broad and flat, it completely misses important features in our data. In our exam score example, an oversmooth estimate might entirely overlook the fact that there are distinct performance groups and incorrectly suggest that student scores are uniformly distributed across the entire range, which clearly contradicts what our sample shows us. The optimal bandwidth lies in that sweet spot where we capture the main patterns in our data without getting distracted by random noise. Finding this optimal value is part rigorous mathematics and part experienced judgment, and statisticians have developed several computational techniques to help choose good bandwidth values, including cross-validation approaches and plug-in methods, though the final decision often involves visual inspection and domain expertise. Let's examine the mathematical foundation underlying all this intuition. The kernel density estimate, which we denote as f hat of x, follows the formula f hat of x equals 1 over n times the sum from I equals 1 to n of k of the quantity x minus xi, all divided by h. Breaking this down systematically, f hat of x represents our estimated density at any score x we want to investigate, n is the number of data points in our sample, and k represents our kernel function, typically a Gaussian or normal distribution. The expression x minus xi inside the kernel function measures the distance between our query score x and each observed score xi, while h is our bandwidth parameter that controls the width of each individual kernel. This mathematical formula might appear intimidating initially, but it's simply a precise way of expressing the intuitive process we described. Place a probability curve at each data point, calculate how much each curve contributes to the density at any point x, sum all these contributions, and divide by the number of data points to obtain the average. The power of kernel density estimation lies in its flexibility and intuitive foundation. And, unlike parametric statistical methods that require assuming your data follows a specific predetermined distribution, like a normal distribution, kernel density estimation is non-parametric, meaning it can automatically adapt to whatever shape your data actually exhibits. Whether your data has one mode, multiple modes, or complex multimodal patterns, kernel density estimation can naturally capture these characteristics without forcing them into restrictive assumptions. So, the next time you're confronted with a dataset and you need to understand not just the individual observations you collected, but the broader population those observations represent, remember kernel density estimation. It serves as a powerful computational bridge between the discrete world of your sample data and the continuous world of population distributions, transforming a handful of specific observations into a comprehensive model of the underlying data-generating mechanism. And that basically wraps up this video. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this explanation helpful, give it a thumbs up, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to stay up to date with everything I post here. Also, if you'd like to support what I do, consider becoming a member either here or on Patreon. Your support really goes a long way and helps me keep creating content like this. See you in the next one. Bye bye.